Hello, I am Khaldir of the Kobold Workers Union, and I am here today to give you an introduction into Dungeons & Dragons Online character creation. Right then, to start with, there are three separate styles for characters. You have the melee, who are hand-to-hand up-close combat characters, spellcasters, who use magic to attack enemies from a distance, and also healing is part of spells, and specialists who are usually to do with buffs or trap disarming and generally sort of a misc option or in between melee and spell. Right then, as to classes, there are 4 classes in each style, one of which in each style is a premium class, which means you have to pay for it using turbine points, which can also be earned in-game. Now, if I start with the melee, there are fighters who use a big variety of weapons, shields, heavy armor, and they are more of a tactical option as they can take different feats which affect the ways that the fighter can then react in battle, depending on whether that's extra moves that he can have on his hotbar or whether he's better at dual wielding or something like that. A Barbarian is a more simple class, and basically it hit things with an axe, really. They don't have as much armor as a fighter, but they got lots of health. They can go into a rage to get large boosts to strength and constitution, and yeah, they're generally more of a hit things kind of character, a bit more basic. Now a Paladin has armor like a fighter, doesn't have the extra feats, but at level 4 they can learn spells, and depending on how much wisdom, depends on the effectiveness of the spells, but they can provide a small amount of healing and usually have buffs that help themselves, and so they make quite good tanks, or also they like fighting demons and undead, which none of the other melee classes have such specializations in fighting evil enemies. Apart from maybe the next class, which is Monk. Now, Monk is quite a complex class. Instead of using weapons, they use hand-to-hand combat, and instead of having spell points, they have a different type of point called Ki, which starts off quite low, and as you hit things in melee combat, the Ki bar will in fact increase. So the more things you hit, the higher the Ki is, which means you can use more moves. And they don't have armor, they wear only robes, and they don't have well, they can have quarterstaffs and cammers, and if you're a dark path monk, you can also use short swords, but usually you'll find monks use unarmed weapons. But they can be quite difficult to master, as it says over here. Anyway, that's the melee classes. Now on to spellcasters. Sorcerer can have a select amount of spells they can cast quite fast, and they have a large amount of SP. So if you want to be a caster and just bombard the enemies with spells, Sorcerer is probably a better choice than Wizard, which is similar to a Sorcerer apart from the fact that they can use the same spells, but the Wizard can have more of them at once and can swap out spells whenever they want. They don't have as much spell points, and they also cast slower than a Sorcerer, however. Those are the 2 arcane classes, and the divine spellcasters are the Cleric and Favoured Soul. Now, Clerics, they're the main healer of the game. They, pretty much, if you play a Cleric, you're expected to have the healing spells, and usually, the game as it is, if you have a Cleric who's specialised in offensive casting or melee, that's sort of disproved on in the game, but don't let that put you off if you want to make a battle cleric, as they are called, because they have the heavy armor and they can be quite good at offensiveness, but they are usually expected to heal, so if you're going for a different type of build, prepare for a potential backlash. Now, a Favoured Soul is as if a cleric would be a wizard, being able to swap out spells whenever they want, A favoured soul would be a sorcerer, not being able to swap out whenever they want, but having more spell points. And also the favoured soul has I think they have a slightly wider variety of spells as well, but can't have as many at the same time as clerics. Again, they can heal, but there's not as much of a pressure on them to be the main healers, although any divine class is expected to have some kind of healing capability, and same as the monk, they are the premium of their style. Now, for the specialists, there are rangers who can use bows. They're very good with bows, or they're also very good with dual-wielding weapons, which is harder to do than in other MMOs. You can't just pick up a second weapon and be equally good with it. You have to have certain feats, which the rangers automatically get given. They also can be good at sneaking. Rangers are very versatile, really. They can be range, they can be dual-wielding, they can be sneaking. It all depends on how you make the character. Now, a rogue uses stealth, usually uses stealth, and their main appeal, or one of the main appeals, is sneak attack, which rogues get automatically, and if you take the assassin path, you can do devastating amounts of damage with sneak attack. For example, I think it's about 100... Nah, actually, I'm not going to... I think it's about 100 damage that you can do per hit with the sneak attack bonus. I'm probably wrong. I'm sure that can be corrected in editing, though, if I'm wrong. So, if it says 100, you know that I'm right. They also can disarm traps and unlock doors, and are quite good at finding hidden doors and things. So, if you want to be a sort of an explorer kind of character, finding traps and the party being dependent on you without having to constantly be healing, a rogue might be a good choice. Now, a bard is a very interesting kind of build. It's, as it says, quite challenging to solo, but they use buffs, so that makes people happy if you use buffs on them. And they can also have songs, as the character at the moment is so excellently demonstrating with his lute, which, yes, thank you, well, the animations lined up pretty well there, didn't they? Okay, that's just creepy now. Basically, let me get back on track. Spells are like buffs, but they last longer and can't be dispelled, I don't think. So, a bard is a very useful person to be in your party, as they can basically increase the effectiveness of all the other characters while also being good on their own. So they can be good at melee or ranged, or with a bard it all depends on the way you build it, really. It's quite an open class. An Artificer is the pay-to-play one, and this is my favourite class, actually, the Artificer, where they use magic, but it's not their main thing. They mainly use repeating crossbows, as the character there is demonstrating, which are very good, really. They shoot 3 bolts at a time, and do quite a lot of damage if you're good with them. Now, that thing there that the character's using is a rune arm, which it's a thing that will let you shoot magic without actually using any spell points, which is an incredibly useful thing, especially when you consider that DDO doesn't have regenerating health and spell points like other games. So a rune arm can be quite a reliable extra source of firepower, especially as you can charge it up and fire it while shooting your bow. The crossbow, I mean. They also have a iron dog, as you can see by his side, which will assist the Artificer in combat and controls like a hireling. I don't know if you've played DDO, but hirelings and dogs can be controlled and given basic commands like go over there, stay still, attack that target, use that lever or whatever. So it can be incredibly useful as it acts like a hireling without taking a place in the party. And also you don't have to buy the hireling every time you want it. So that's a basic overview of the classes. So in later videos I'll go through and give an introduction on each class and what a good build for it would be, and how you can design your own class quite effectively. Anyway, that's all from me. I will see you guys later.